We're going to move on to our consent agenda, and all items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters or formal documents covering previous town council instruction. Items are enacted in one motion and a second without separate discussion unless a member of the town council, town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. A request for public comment on the consent agenda item should be filled out with the town clerk. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak on the consent agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move back to council. No questions, so we'll look for approval of the.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that we approve consent agenda 2 through 6.
All right, we have a motion.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Dennison.
Yes. Thank you. And now we're going to move on to our public hearing. Agenda item number 7, Community Block Grant, CDBG.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's Jordan here online.
Oh,
Hopefully
there you
my
are.
face will pop up soon. There we go. I just wanted to provide a brief introduction to the CDBG prioritization hearing. The annual project recommendation before you is to fund the annual Tri-Valley Little League Capital Improvement Project. That application does total a little over $1 million, which is to fund multiple years of those project improvements. There were 3 other applications to be considered as eligible for CDBG funding, but in your recommendation, staff has provided council information to forward the Measure Y funding partnership rather than the CDBG funding. So those applicants would be contacted by town staff in the next few days to receive that application for that funding process as well. And just to finalize, the total amount allocated for this year is just over $136,000, which would be available for reimbursement for those project costs beginning in fiscal year 23-24. So I'll be available for questions after any public comment.
Thank you, Jordan, for that update. And I'll go ahead. I forgot to formally open the public hearing. So we'll go ahead, and we've heard a briefing from Jordan. Any comments on the item? Public comments online? No? Okay, well, this has been an item of discussion for a while with the council and staff. And if there's no other discussion on it, I'd like to go ahead and move the item. So let's go ahead and close the public hearing, seeing no one was speaking on it.
I will second the item.
No motion was made yet.
Oh,
Oh,
I'll move the item then.
okay, good.
Okay.
And I'll second. Thank you.
We have a motion and the mayor second.
Council members Abel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Dennison.
Yes. All right, thank you. Item number 8 is our COVID-19 prevention plan revision.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you this evening is the proposed revision to the COVID-19 prevention program. As you might recall, Cal OSHA approved emergency regulations requiring employers to protect workers from hazards related to COVID-19. Those regulations were approved by the Office of Administrative Law on November 30th, 2020, and became effective immediately. The regulations required employers to implement a site-specific written COVID-19 prevention program to address COVID-19 health hazards, correct unsafe and unhealthy conditions, and provide face coverings. The regulations also required accurate record keeping and reporting of COVID-19 cases. Initially, the regulations were in place for 6 months. However, the regulations have been revised a few times during the course of the pandemic. The most recent review occurred on December 15th, 2022, where the Occupational Safety and Health Standards Board voted to adopt non-emergency COVID-19 prevention regulations. The Office of Administrative Law then had 30 days to review the recommendations, and on February 3rd, I apologize, the date was incorrect on your staff report, the recommended changes were approved. A few of the changes from the last revision include modifying the definition of close contact to align with the California Department of Public Health guidance, removing the requirement of screening employees for COVID symptoms, removing facility inspection requirements specific to COVID, and eliminating the obligation to provide COVID testing at no cost for employees who are experiencing COVID symptoms but did not have close contact in the workplace. And it is no longer required to be a standalone program. You can opt to have it as part of the town's injury and illness prevention program. However, the town has opted to have it as a standalone document. The new regulations will remain in effect for 2 years. I also wanted to provide you an update or reminder as to the status of the emergency declarations. As you may recall, the county declared its public health emergency over on March 1st, 2022. However, at the same meeting, they did vote to declare a more limited local emergency relating to the county's emergency medical system, so that they could apply for funding because of the short staff during the pandemic. The state's coronavirus emergency declaration will expire on February 28th, 2023. So at the end of this month, that will no longer be in place. And at the federal level, the president announced late last month that he intends to end both the national emergency and the public health emergency declarations related to COVID-19 on May 11th, 2023. That concludes the staff report. Staff will be happy to answer any questions following public comment.
Thank you, Deborah, for that. So right now, requesting public comment, anyone in the audience or online? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and bring it back to the council for discussion. Seeing none, it was pretty well laid out, a lot of redlining in this document. It was, a lot was struck. So I'll be looking for a motion on the item. I believe this is a, change in our COVID-19.
I move that we approve the revision.
A second.
We have a motion and a second.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Dennison.
Yes. Moving us on now to one I really like. Number 9 is our emergency street debris cleanup removal services authorization to release RFP.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This item would normally be on your consent agenda, but we put it on as a discussion item just to give us the opportunity to publicly welcome back Alex Kishta, our Public Works Director, to the town. We have a number of things and initiatives that we're moving forward with, and so we're super excited that Alex decided to join back with the town. Introduce him again to the council as well as to the community. So welcome, Alex. We're really excited to have you here, and with that, I'll let you take the exciting item.
Looking forward to it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Curtis, for this introduction. Appreciate it. The item before you tonight is the Town Council authorizing the release of a request for proposal for emergency storm cleanup and shoulder maintenance services, which is, necessary to remove the sand, dirt, and debris from maintained road system following storm events. The outline for this proposal will be released by tomorrow, February 8th. We hopefully that we can get them back by March 30th of this year. And then we will review the proposals between April 3 and 6, and then council meeting on Tuesday, May 10 for award. With that being said, let me give you a small update on the street sweeping process that we have. All roads in towns maintained road system have been scraped, cleared of the heavy sand and debris so far. Repair of the erosion issues by backfilling with dirt is currently in progress, and that's scheduled to be completed by end of this month. The shoulder maintenance scheduled to start next week, February 13, and anticipated to be completed by mid to end of March of this year. The street sweeping has been completed in all major arterials at this point of time: Yucca Trail, Onaga Trail, Joshua Lane, and now currently they're going zone by zone in the town 17 maintenance zones. The street sweeping is scheduled to be completed approximately early April of this year, unless other significant rainstorms occur. With that, I'll be more than happy. That will conclude staff report, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that the council have.
Thank you very much for that, and welcome back.
Thank
I'll
you,
be
sir.
looking for any public comment in the audience or online? I see none. We'll bring it back to council. Any comments?
Well, I've been
Earl?
very impressed in how quickly the response has been on the current contractor on emergency cleanup after storms. As you know, we get hit or miss, and it's never really predictable. The weather out here can change on very quickly. I would like to, continue to request that if staff that's out there in the trenches sees areas that are repeatedly flooded or things that are needing cleanup over and over again, if there's any preventative maintenance or any kind of a cure to certain areas, whether it's berms, whether it is paving a road, anything like that that would help mitigate something that's just repetitively having to be scraped and dumped over and over again. So I see some intersections, some areas where the tractors, even our town people are out there. They're back in that same section again. So if there's anything that our people on the ground can identify as areas we should invest money to save some costs in the long run, that would be very helpful. But again, whoever we've contracted with prior has done an excellent job getting out there right away and helping clean up.
Yeah, I would just like to echo the same thing. I watch the roads closely, very responsive. The road crews are out there cleaning up the big pieces, and the street sweeping contract has been very good to this town. Just when I think I drive by and they've gone over a road 4 or 5 times, I go, that's just not good enough. Well, you know what? They're right back there after they empty the truck, and they just keep continuing. Primarily, we've had some issues with vehicles, bicyclists, and pedestrians in some of these corners after a storm. But I've noticed and paid close attention that the contractor is taking the time to clean those up and get back to the curb line or the berm line. And that's very welcomed. It makes it better driving experience, safer for all of us. So thank you very much. With that, no other comments. I'll go ahead and look for a motion.
Mayor, I'll move the motion.
All right, thank you, and I'll second. And with that, roll call, please.
So for roll call, council members Abel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Dennison.
And yes. And last part is item number 10 on the agenda, our strategic plan status review.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We're going to bring up a presentation this evening just to run through your status review for your 22-24 approved strategic plan. So if you think about this, this is representing about the first 7 months of that 24-month period for the strategic plan and the activities, goals, and objectives that we want to cover with that. You've seen this numerous times in both our strategic planning and budgeting cycle. We're in this process now where we're going to monitor results out of our strategic plan. Back a number of years ago, the council spent a good amount of time engaging with the community and developing a framework for the strategic plan. And we've divided it into these kind of 3 different areas where we look at the community, the organization, the region, all with the goal of moving forward. We're going to look at each of the areas, and by the way, a more comprehensive review of the status is in your agenda packet and is also available online. That goes through each individual objective, work plan, and gives you a specified status. I'm just going to pull out a couple of those, and we're going to do them by these sectors. We're going to start with the activities that are really related to the town. Again, keep in mind, this is your first quarter of that 4-quarter plan for the 2-year plan, so this is about the first 6 months. But there's been some significant highlights here in the town organization. As you know, we've been involved with Trepepe Smith on our communication side, and they've been doing a terrific job advancing our platforms across many different sectors and reaching many different audiences, not only with our day-to-day activities and announcements, information, et cetera, but also we've used other communication platforms, for example, on our second bullet point here, education and information on the town's transient occupancy tax initiative that moved forward in the fall of last year. Took a number of efforts, and we've used some innovative communication platforms that will not only assisted us in that effort in the fall of 2022, but we will also use those same platforms moving forward on a number of other regular routine informational items. So we're excited to see how that technology has helped us move forward. And then lastly, in this section, the updated town's IT services. That was a contract that Jessica brought before you a couple of meetings ago. Very significant rewrite with the town attorney's office, with Southwest Networks, our third-party vendor, to get to a point where we've implemented a number of security protocols that needed to be updated. Pretty excited about that. Those are items that on your matrix will be in green and represent completed items. Number of them in progress. These are generally designated by the yellow shading in your strategic plan review. These you will be very, very familiar with. Our Old Town event space planning. We have efforts on some online payment platforms for our more routine transactions, still trying to move forward on starting on very specific ones, whether it's our business registration or maybe something to do with our vacation rental renewals. We're trying to identify the easiest way to move those forward. AB 1383 continues to move forward with organics. We're moving that. Other projects that you're intimately familiar with are town service facilities, consolidating those. It's our town hall project. And then ongoing recreational and other infrastructure priorities, including our Prop 68 Aquatics and Rec Center and the pedestrian improvement projects that you see over on Onaga and Little League. Moving on to the broader community and some of the things that we have moving forward there. I'm going to have the captain talk about this first one in a minute, but while he thinks about that, I'm going to hit the second one. Continued communication and support for the County Station 41 replacement. We remain active with San Bernardino County Fire, trying to assist them wherever we can. Obviously, that's not within our control, nor is that in our scope of responsibilities, but we do want to be a partner in there. Some of the other items that we've completed: short-term vacation rental ordinance review, again, completed and done in the last year and implemented. North Park development and access completed. Sue and her team bringing the arts and public places policies and program forward and having that approved and ready for implementation. Town staff continues work on design standards and our community beautification efforts. I went through the other day driving through some areas in town, including the shopping or the residential area across the street from Walmart and Home Depot, and counted a total of 1 shopping cart. So a small victory. I think the last time I had done that comprehensively, it was 47. So definitely some improvements there. We continue to work with the retailers to make sure that continues. There are other efforts that the council's aware of. We'll be revisiting how we move forward on some of our abandoned signage efforts, some of the other abandoned buildings in town. We know that there's residential concerns that folks have, so those efforts continue as we move forward. In your original matrix that I put out on expanded public safety access and engagement, I think the one that you may have in the agenda packet was shaded red as not started. And the captain very well reminded me of a number of efforts that we actually have put in place over the last year. So you want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure, absolutely. So, as I was reading through this document, I remembered back to my pledge to you all, first when I met with Curtis and then when I was introduced to the council, talking about one of my previous assignments being the commander of our public affairs division. I think the access and being out in the community is worth its weight in gold. And I can't believe it's already been 6 months that I've been up with you now, but not only seeing me at virtually every function in the community after hours and during business hours, but my deputies as well. So some of the things that we've been doing, as you know, we do National Night Out annually, and we try and have that coincide with a council night to get more attendance. We've worked with the local radio station to try and bolster that for next year, trying to get more people out here to engage. We've initiated Coffee with a Cop that we're actually doing quarterly, and we do it both in Yucca Valley and 29 Palms quarterly to try and meet with people. Also here in Yucca Valley, I've personally stopped by, and I know my lieutenant has too, just some of the businesses, getting to know different business owners. We've had an open house at our station. I don't want to give it lip service. I can truly say from my experience with the department that usually our best ideas come from people who aren't cops. You know, if we just hang out with people who are doing it the same way over and over, it's very easy to explain your process and ask for criticism and ways you can get better, but it generally comes from the outside. If we're truly serving the public, then we need to go out and talk to the public and find out what we're doing and what interests them and what in their minds the priorities should be. So I think we've done a very good job in the last 6 months. It's going to get better of being out in the community, but those are some of the ways that we've been out. I've been to both Mayor Schooler when he was the mayor, and now Mayor Dennison's first coffee with the mayor, just making myself accessible. And a lot of times we're not going to solve the problems right there at the table, but if I get a good flavor, if it's important enough for somebody to come to one of those events and bring it up, gives me some time to do research and get back with that constituent. What's important to you is important to us.
Awesome. Thank you, Captain. I think maybe that changed to hopefully yellow, if not green. We've actually done quite a bit in that goal objective. So lastly, on the region side, a couple of things that still need to occur. We'd like to do a little bit more work on assessment of retail operations, gap analysis. These are things that we can work with HDL on, and they support us in those efforts. The economic activity in the basin continues to change and evolve. Different types of businesses coming in at different, serving different sectors, and so we want to stay on top of that. And then a variety of infrastructure projects with outside partners. As you know, I misprinted that first bullet point under engage with partners. That should be the Yucca Valley Airport District. And that was activity that the council wanted us to get involved in and engage. Through Measure Y, they were very successful in obtaining some grant funding to help with some of their maintenance efforts on the runway. We continue to stay engaged with High Desert Water District, pressing for recycled water options. Every time we do our annual budget, that becomes more and more paramount for this community, not only from a budgetary perspective, but also from a sustainability perspective. And then recently concluding the Highway 62 rehabilitation effort with Caltrans. Council, as you know, strategic planning is important. It's not real exciting sometimes, but these are the ways that we can continue to identify what's important to this council, and then that these strategic planning efforts transcend current councils, transcend current staff, and make sure that the organization is moving forward in the right direction, both in the midterm and long-term perspectives. With that, be happy to answer questions after public comment. Otherwise, it's a receive and file for you this evening.
Thank you very much. Great points, and it's good to see so much projects actually being accomplished, and it's shown on a matrix. And we do visit this regularly, and we do, as the captain had mentioned, we navigate based on the input from the public. So at this time, is there any comments from the public who'd like to speak on this item? Anyone online? No? Bring it back to council for any comments.
I just want to say two things. I want to thank the captain. I think the Sheriff's Department has been really responsive with all things I've known about. And I know you're out in the community a lot, even on the radio. So you've done a great job, and thank you for all of that. And I think the last time we talked about social media, I was a little concerned that some of the social media wasn't being addressed. And now I feel like it is. It's like it's went up 100%. And, the town is on Nextdoor and Facebook and I'm sure Twitter and Instagram. But what I see is like much more, it's more productive, it's much better. So I think the town is doing really great in that area. And what is it, Tripepi? Or yeah, they're doing a great job. And I'm sure Leslie does some of that. So thank you. So anyway, that's it.
All right, well, this is a receive and file, and thank you very much for the report. Right now, we'll go ahead and move on to any future agenda items from the council. Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and move right into public comments. Town council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the agenda. When you're called to speak, please state your name, community of residence, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting, shall result in failure of public comment privileges. The town council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussion of items not on the printed agenda. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak during public comment time? Seeing none online? Nothing? All right, then we'll bring it back to staff reports and comments.
Captain, anything else for us this evening?
I'd just like to thank Pastor Adams. That was great. I appreciate the prayer for my deputies. It's a very tough time to be a deputy sheriff. We did have an incident on Sunday, started just outside of town, Indio and Canterbury. We had an arson in progress 911 call that our deputies responded to. It was a high-speed pursuit through the Morongo Basin, through Yucca Valley, down the 62 onto the 10 freeway. Sometimes over 100 miles an hour on both sides of the double yellow, passing on the right, very dangerous. Ultimately, the pursuit terminated when his vehicle became disabled down in the Whitewater area, north of the 10 freeway. And unfortunately, 3 of my deputies were there. We tried to do less lethal means with a beanbag, didn't take effect, and ultimately took this individual's life. 2 deputies got into a lethal shooting. And so they're navigating through that. So I definitely appreciate the support of the town. The deputies here do an amazing job. And yeah, it's tough to be a deputy sheriff, but if anybody was wondering why there might have been a little bit of an extra traffic slowdown, we had the freeway down to a couple lanes for several hours. Obviously down there's Riverside County, so they're doing the investigation, but the deputies are doing well, and we're just thankful for the support.
Thank you for that update.
Thanks, Captain. Deborah or Alex, Sue, anything?
We're good. Thank you.
Okay. Shane, do you have anything?
Just real brief, if you get a chance to drive down Onaga Trail today, you've probably seen over the last week the curb and gutter that had gone down. Today they actually started laying sidewalk, and even though it's not finished, huge improvement, and you can see the vision of that safety improvement for the pedestrians along that stretch of Onaga Trail. So it's big improvement, and the project's moving forward.
Thanks, Shane. We received about 4:30 this evening, we received a link from the Department of Fish and Wildlife on draft legislation related to the Western Joshua Tree. As you know, the Fish and Game Commission is scheduled to meet tomorrow, and I believe that's one of their first items on the agenda. So we would think that likely there will not be any action other than to maybe continue the item to their April meeting as the legislative effort moves forward. Legislation, we haven't had sufficient time to go through it. I would just characterize it as largely along the lines of what was circulating in the fall of last year in the legislative session. Very limited in scope. Not quite clear on how beneficial, quite frankly, it's going to be for our community or other communities. So we'll continue to monitor that process as it moves forward. The legislation did not have a sponsor attached to it yet. It did have the form of a budget bill, which is another interesting approach, I guess, in coming up with how you're going to handle endangered species. I guess that's one option. The budget bill process would allow the legislation to take effect as soon as the budget bill is signed, as opposed to the normal legislative process. So, as you know, anytime legislation is introduced, it goes through numerous iterations before the final drafting is ultimately approved or not approved, as the case may be. So we'll stay in tune with the hearing tomorrow and probably send you out an update and let you know what occurred in that hearing, as well as we'll send you a copy of the legislation so you can see what that looks like. just from a staff's perspective. Pastor, thank you. Sometimes we get involved, I get these, like, for example, this Western Joshua Tree legislation. I went through it kind of briefly, and Shane and I kicked around a couple of comments on it, but we get down on some of this stuff, and then you have somebody like Pastor Adams that just gives perspective on what's really important. And at the end of the day, the Joshua Tree, quite frankly, is not important. So thank you for that perspective. We appreciate that. And I'll leave my comments on a positive side. I think we had, did I have one more clip on King of the Hammers? Let's go ahead and roll that. This is just one of the this was an update from, I think yesterday, or maybe it was Sunday or Monday night. And this is, you're going to hear from Dave Cole, the operator of King of the Hammers. And it's just a minute long, but it gives you a perspective of their current activity that they have going on. So go ahead and roll that.
We just ask that you keep them protected as well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks, Dave.
Well, they haven't said go ahead. Oh, there's a cameraman there. Are we ready to go? Are we live? Okay, then welcome to 2023 King of the Hammers. Have you heard the rumor yet that there is 1,060 some odd entrants to here? Is that 1,062 or something like that? I think is the final number. It was 520 last year, so we're also 75% more people here through the gate than we had last year at this time. You guys are fixing to have the biggest crowd you've ever thought about racing in front of. And I'm really excited for you. I hope you have a great time. We're going to start our qualifying tomorrow, Can-Am UTV race. And we're starting at 8 a.m.
I think that's good. The point being here, that's just one of their races. And if you think about 500 racers, that means all the support staff, that means the support, the vendors, all of that stuff. And then to have that go from 500 to 1,062, 75% increase, it's just crazy out there. So far, it's been relatively safe. From what I hear, I haven't had a whole lot of incidents there. So really positive, not only for our community and for the people that come through here, but also as an alternative. The other depressing thing was that whole fentanyl presentation this morning. I mean, having kids at the high school, it just can drive you crazy hearing things like that. But this is an alternative for the people in our community to be able to go watch, to be able to participate, and have positive outlets of things to do. So really terrific. We wish them all the best this year. That's it, Mayor. Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for those comments, too. We'll bring it back to the council for comments, and we'll start off with Councilmember Abel.
Yes, thank you all for the reports tonight, and those that are attending tonight's meeting, appreciate it. I had the opportunity to serve as the chairman of the Air Quality Management District for 2 years, and that has come to an end. I do want to thank the council for allowing me to continue to be on the board up there in Victorville, and a lot of good things have happened. We got a lot of mandates that come down through the state of California on air quality, and the regulations getting tighter and tighter, but I think as the former mayor and I were talking the other day, we've seen just in our lifetime here in Southern California how much the air quality has improved. There was a time you couldn't see the mountains in LA, and there was always a brown haze all over. And now you can see some of the most gorgeous mountains as you go through Riverside and San Bernardino, and you're not choked out in LA. And so all the efforts that are going forward in cleaning air and the technology and the move away from the carbon fuel has really had a positive impact. And for me to be on the Air Quality Management Board, when you think about that district, it goes from the Riverside County area all the way out to the Arizona border and so forth, and we have a lot of representatives on that. So to be the chair for 2 years was quite an honor, and I appreciate, again, the council's confidence in me being on that board. And my time as the chairman of the Basin Transit District has come to an end. Our former mayor and council member, Jeff Drodes, is going to be the vice chair. and he'll more than likely serve as the chair in the following year, but that's also a wonderful board to be a part of. It's also a great alternative for people to get out of their vehicles and use the bus. Rapid Transit, again, we have some of the cleanest buses, and we're moving even towards electric buses as well. So it's really great to be part of those boards, and it's been a real honor. I want to congratulate our local high school for some league championships. The boys basketball program is a league champion, and that hasn't happened since I was coaching basketball as an assistant coach back in '91, but they're league champions once again, the boys basketball. And the girls basketball program, who's had a lot of success through the years, has repeated as league champions. CIF games are coming up Wednesday, and that'll be tomorrow at 6 p.m. at Yucca Valley High School gym. You have to get your tickets in advance. Get them on your phone and be able to check in. So if you're interested in that, contact the high school or look online to be able to get your tickets to go support the local boys program. And then the girls team will be playing, they get a bye in the first round of CIF because they're just so darn good. And the girls will be playing Saturday this 11th at 7 p.m. at Yucca Valley High School, the team to be determined. So please go out and support the Lady Trojans in their basketball conquest. We're hoping they go really, really deep in the CIF playoffs. Girls wrestling won the league this year, so that's 3 great sports that have locked up league championships. And the league has changed through the years, so if you haven't paid attention to it, now they're competing against schools like Coachella Valley, larger schools and so forth. It's not smaller schools like Big Bear, so it's quite a challenge to win the league. And so they've done that, all those 3 sports. Again, I know Sue is really promoting the Healthy Hearts run that's coming up. My wife and I both signed up for it, and that'll be on the 25th, Healthy Hearts. I can't believe it's the 31st annual. That was like one of the newer races, right, that we just sort of added. So it shows how long it's been around. Yeah. So 31st annual Healthy Hearts Run. It is located in a really beautiful setting. So it's up at Essex Park, and that's going to be 5K run, and also there's a 2K walk. So there's no excuse for anybody who's able-bodied to get out there and enjoy the fresh air of Yucca Valley and come out to the Healthy Hearts. So other than that, I have nothing else, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Droz.
Okay, I just want to say that we had a lot of great presentations and conversation tonight. I can't believe it's only been a little over an hour meeting, or at an hour. That's surprising. But maybe I'll get home and watch Family Feud or something like that. But anyway, looking at this table here, it's nice to see after 2 weeks the captain, Deborah, and Sue, but after 5 years, Alex. So welcome back, Alex. We're so glad to have you back. You were here when I was on the Planning Commission. So anyway, it's nice to see you again. Nice to see your friendly face. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And Councilmember School.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Sheriff's Department for that fentanyl presentation. I just wish everybody could see that, and I think the education is so important and just needs to be ongoing. It's a serious problem. And thank you for Curtis for the strategic plan report. I think that accountability and transparency is critical, and I appreciate that we kind of keep that out there as a goal ahead of us. And Captain Warwick, your visibility in the community, we've mentioned this before, is I think just about unprecedented. I think you're everywhere, and I really appreciate that. And Alex, welcome back. That's it for me.
Well, thank you. All those comments, I would just echo the same thing. I'll say one thing. Councilmember Abel really loves our high school, let me tell you. He gets into the weeds on it, and I love that. We have something to be very proud of, our young men and women out there. You know, these kids that are growing up in our community, and they're, the champions here. So that's something that doesn't happen very often. So I'm very proud of them and all they do. So good job. He taught there for a lot of years, influenced a lot of those young leaders. Yeah, welcome back, Alex. I really appreciate you being here. You know exactly what you're getting into, and Yucca Valley has a lot of great things going on, and I'm glad you can be part of it. Other than that, I just want to say one thing. Everyone else knows how I feel. I do see the captain a lot, and I'll probably see him a lot more in the next few weeks. Staff mentioned a little bit about the hammer, so a lot of traffic out there. If anyone's listening online, remember traffic's going to be really bad. This will be the biggest weekend of the whole Hammers time. This is the King of the Hammers event on Saturday. So have patience, take those routes in your neighborhood, slow down, watch for kids, watch for people, and enjoy your day and your weekend. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.